This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Welcome to Purpose-Driven Sobriety. Thank you for joining the Purpose-Driven Sobriety podcast. My name is Christine, and I'm an alcoholic. I would like to thank my sponsor today. It's Jennifer Halverson. Jennifer has been on the show a couple of times. She is, as we say in recovery, one of us. She is a dear friend of mine and supports all of my shenanigans and is my partner in crime at a lot of times. So, Jennifer, thank you so much. Today, we have on a fellow podcaster, which it's so funny, Charlie, that I say that because prior to March of this year, I had never listened to a podcast in my entire life. Ever.
Are you serious?
No, I'm way too excellent driver, ADD kind of, I just to sit still and, it never occurred to me to like turn it on Alexa or something while I'm doing, I'm just, but since then I have become a believer. I've listened to your podcast, The Way Out, and you're doing amazing things. And gosh, dog, how long have you been doing this, Charlie, this podcast?
Since March of 2015.
Really? Okay, yeah. You got a minute on me. Yeah, you are episode 42 of the Purpose-Driven Sobriety podcast. I've been doing this since March of last year. So it's 9 months. Yeah, so we're just a little baby compared. Yeah, you've got it down to a fine art. So I'm quite impressed with what you do.
Hey, look, we're OG,
I love it. Well, Charlie, on this show, dude, we just talk about the deal. My main focus is, I was asked several times, what is this thing about? And I said, I'm trying to reach me just before I was ready to eat a bullet. That's who I'm trying to reach. That's who I want to, who I want our words to touch, just to let them know that there's hope. So what we do is we just share our experience, strength, and hope with each other, so that we can reach that person. So, Charlie, I would love to hear all the things about Charlie and what makes you tick and what happened, what it was like, what happened, and what you are like now.
Well, Christine, thank you first for having me on the Purpose-Driven Sobriety podcast. It's an honor. It's always an honor to be able to share my story. I take it very seriously because I truly believe when we choose to recover out loud and share our story, we're affording others the opportunity to connect to our stories, to find hope, to find tools, and to truly believe just maybe they can too recover.
Right. Amen. Mm-hmm.
And so for me, sobriety was not a linear path, Christine, in any way, shape, or form. I always believed that I had big addict and alcoholic switches, and they were bound to get tripped at some point. It runs rampant in my family, all sorts of alcoholism and addiction. My mom died when I was 11 years old, and that was also right after that. Experienced quite a bit of bullying in middle school for being the fat kid. And right before that, experienced an act of sexual misconduct from a cousin. So I had a few things happening in my childhood and adolescence that I like to say was like pouring gasoline on a campfire of addiction and alcoholism. Mm-hmm. The first time I drank, like really drank, I was in love. It got rid of all of the icky feelings that I didn't know how to get rid of up until that point by myself. All of the anxiety, all of the depression, all of the fear instantly vanished when I put alcohol in my body. It unlocked things in me that I was not able to unlock prior to that moment. I could flirt with the girls. I could stick up to the guys. I was funny. I was the life of the party. And I loved that feeling. The first time I really drank. I was 15 years old and got so drunk that I was out of control at the party. They put me in a dog kennel because they couldn't control me. And they came back and checked on me a few hours later, and my lips were blue and I wasn't breathing.
Oh man.
And my best friend was somehow able to revive me. And then they proceeded to feed me an entire bottle of syrup of Ipecac. And I proceeded to, hurl for the next 3 hours straight in that dude's garage. I don't really remember a lot about that, but I do remember mostly how alcohol made me feel and what it unlocked in me and what it took away. And all I wanted to do is feel like that again, as much as possible. It was like love at first drink. And I found ways to be able to incorporate that in my life as much as humanly possible. Harder to do when you're underage. So I also experiment more than experimented, regularly used other drugs to take away those icky feelings and get me to a happy place. I landed in treatment when I was 16 because of that party incident. And my parents made me go, my dad and my stepmom. And I remember waxing poetic about steps and recovery principles that I had no intention of working. This was like graduate school for alcoholics and addicts. I really
Oh
was just
sure.
I was really just meeting people that had far greater connections, Christine, to things that I had no idea existed, right? And so, I'm at the 28th day and I'm about to chip out, and they're passing the coin around the circle. Everybody's telling me how wise I am and how they think I'm going to stay sober forever and how great I am. And Eileen, the head treatment counselor, usurps the circle and takes the coin and says, Charlie, you're lying to yourself. You're lying to this group. You're going to use again, and it's probably going to kill you.
Oh, I just got chills. Wow.
And she
She
walked
had
out.
your number.
She sure did, Christine.
Ooh,
She
I don't like
sure
that.
did.
I don't like those people.
She was like I really believe, Christine, in a very real way, that was my higher power in the form of a tough old Irish broad that worked at that treatment center. And every time my substance use, my alcohol use, drug use became unmanageable, Eileen would come into my consciousness.
Would just jump on your shoulder.
You got it.
Just like a sweet little angel.
You're lying to yourself. You're lying to this group. You're going to use again, and it's probably going to kill you.
Oh, man.
And that would come up after a DWI or a lost relationship or some sort of internal or external consequence. That's where my mind would go, to that memory of Eileen speaking straight truth to me. And over the next 20 years, two immutable truths became very crystal clear to me. Number one, over any length of time, my substance use becomes unmanageable. Could be an internal consequence, could be an external consequence, or both. And also, over any length of time, not using becomes unmanageable. I can't stay sober by myself for any length of time. I'll go crazy. And to your point off the top, Christina, it makes me want to eat a bullet. Like, it's not worth it. Like,
I can't drink, and I can't not drink.
You got it.
Oh, man, that's hell. That is freaking hell.
You got it.
Hell.
Can't use, can't quit. Right? And that's the crux of my disease, is without a solution, I am stuck between a can't use, can't quit, impossible situation. So I'm on the back end of a third failed marriage. And my wife at the time looks at me and she says, "You drink every day." Yeah, yeah, but baby, it's only a few. And the problem, Christine, with trying to outsmart somebody that's A, already smarter than you, and B, not drunk, is it doesn't work very well.
It does in our mind in the
It does.
moment.
Okay, so I've got this garage situation where I've got like the main stock of booze in the garage, but if I only keep 3 beers in the fridge, then she won't catch on that it's more than a few. Took like a day for her to be like, that's way more than a few, Charlie. I think you have a problem. Like, no, look,
Listen
I
here,
can
Eileen.
look, I can quit anytime I want. She's like, sweet, do it. You know, I should have seen that coming.
Yeah, challenge.
Yep. Okay. So I quit for 30 days on Marlboros and resentments, which I don't recommend. And it's, see, told you I could quit. She says, okay. I think we need to get some alcohol because it's my oldest child's birthday and Thanksgiving. It fell on the same day that year. So we were going to have my parents over and we were going to have a little celebration. We're going to see if I can fix this a little bit. Ah, look at that. That's even better. Look
There you
at that.
go.
Tremendous. And I knew how much was riding on this. Like I knew. And I rarely like to put myself in the box where I promised myself or anybody else that I wasn't going to get loaded because I knew just enough to know that I couldn't trust myself. But I knew how much was riding on this. So I really needed to demonstrate that I could drink normally, that I could manage it. And Christine, every fiber of my being wanted to drink normally. Wanted to prove to her, to myself, to my children, to my parents that I am not an alcoholic, that I can control my drinking. And of course, what happens? I can't stop. I'm having this out of body experience. And I'm drinking half drank wine. I almost cut my hand off carving the turkey. And my parents leave. And she looks at me. And she really meant it. She wasn't trying to be a bitch. So what is wrong with you, Charlie? And my oldest child looks at her, looks at me and says, "What do you mean? It's just dad. He's just drunk again."
Ouch.
Yikes.
Ouch.
Okay, so I'm not hiding this from anybody. Like nobody's fooled. She's not fooled. My kids aren't fooled. Like the only one that's really being fooled is me. She's like, "You got to go to treatment. You got to get help." And I agreed because I didn't want to get divorced again. And so that's why I always say, like, any reason's a good reason to get into recovery, Christine, like any reason, right?
Sure.
Because I was coming into this thing just trying not to get divorced again. And I get to this treatment counselor's office, and I don't know what came over me. I wasn't planning on it. Wasn't the idea coming in, but I just broke down in her office and I got honest for the first time, completely honest about the true scope and scale of my alcoholism and addiction. I didn't pull any punches. I didn't leave anything out. I didn't rationalize, minimize, nothing.
Wow.
And it felt so freeing, yet so scary at the same time. But that complete surrender that came over me was followed by an immediate, an overwhelming desire and willingness to do whatever I needed to do in order to get better. And if that meant not drinking, okay, I'll do that. But I just don't ever want to feel like this again. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me, well, Charlie, what do you want to get out of this? I said, I want to know why I am the way I am. It's a question that tortured me for years. Why am I this way? Why can't I control these impulses? And she laughed at me. And she said, okay, well, let's say we figure it out. Let's say it's because your mom died when you were 11. Or let's say it's because you had big addict or alcoholic switches and they were bound to get tripped at some point. She asked, if you find out why you are the way you are, do you think you'll ever be able to drink normally again? I said, no. Do you think you'll ever be able to use safely again? No. Okay, should we figure out how we get better instead of why you are the way you are right now? And I was like, yes. And that was the first big light bulb moment.
She's
like,
good. She's
yeah,
good.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I found out in retrospect, we understand so much, Christine, in hindsight, but my house was on fire, Christine, and I was trying to figure out why it started instead of putting out the fire.
Oh, that's a great analogy. That is a great analogy. Yeah.
And so I got to work putting the fire out. And you know what? Through that work, I found out the whys too. Okay? But the whys weren't what I needed to resolve out of the gate. I needed to start putting that fire out. I needed to put the alcohol down, put the drugs down, put the addictions down, and start on a recovery journey that was going to heal me. And through that process, I figured out some of those whys. Well, really all of them. And more gets revealed. So, I say all of them and then something else will come up, right? But that was the journey. And I just started to just do whatever people recommended. I found people in the rooms of recovery. For me, it was 12-step recovery that had what I wanted. And so I started doing what they did. And I started getting better. I started to change, meaningfully change in ways that I could never thought possible.
Wow. Yeah, I drink, a couple of things came to mind, Charlie, while you were talking. Drinking against my will.
You got it.
And there's, I think, only, I don't think, I call them earthlings. I don't think earthlings understand what that means, to be drinking against your will. That desperation. And when you were talking about talking to that counselor when you went into treatment that second time, and how you felt free but yet scared shitless all at the same time. It's like, I'm free, but I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. And I think and I love that analogy. Your house was burning down, and you were focusing on how it caught fire instead of trying to put out the flame.
You got it.
But we want to know. My humble opinion, that's just occurring to me too. Because how long have you? What's your date?
December 6th, 2014. I just celebrated 9 years.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Yeah, I remember I remember needing the whys answered as well. But looking back now, which hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Indeed.
Looking
Yes.
back now, I think I wanted the whys because I needed someone to blame.
Sure. Absolutely. No question.
Right? This has got to be someone's fault.
Yeah, absolutely.
Along
Yep.
with the fact that I need a medical doctor, I need a medical procedure, or some type of brilliant cocktail of medication or something to cure whatever is wrong with me, because it couldn't possibly be addiction. I couldn't possibly be turning into the the person that the type of person that I hated, right? Because I too came from an alcoholic family that was, not fun at all, and the idea that I would become like them was furthest from my mind. I was shocked. I was
Yeah.
shocked. Even drinking a Sam-sized bottle of Listerine as my last drunk, I still didn't know I had a problem.
100%. Hey, if you were me, you would drink too. That thought
Right.
was in my mind all the
Well,
time.
yes, and even past that, I was mad that they were mad because I wasn't drinking alcohol. I didn't go to the liquor store. I didn't, that was the insanity. Looking back at it, it's
Pure insanity.
laughable. It's just
No
like,
question.
what the hell is going on in your brain?
Absolutely.
That you would think that what you're doing is I didn't think it was okay, but I didn't see what the problem was. It's just the insanity of it all.
And to your point, Christine, when you were talking about drinking against our own will, and it's so difficult to describe how demoralizing that experience is, unless you've experienced it.
And you're not consciously demoralized. I wasn't, which is worse because I was that's where I was subconsciously almost demoralized, and I didn't know why, which made it even worse.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
but yeah, I needed someone to
Because it's
blame.
operating under the surface, and anything that's operating just under the surface becomes really difficult to get our heads around.
So how was it? What did you? What was your experience in working? Like you said, I'm a 12-stepper as well. What was your experience like in working those steps? What was your first aha?
I had a lot of them. My first aha, I think, really, Christine, was for the first time I felt like I was coming home. I walked down the steps, and I say that because where my recovery started was in the basement of a union hall, and you go down these stairs to the meeting room. So I came down those stairs, and for the first time in what felt like forever, Christine, I felt like I was coming home. Like I belonged, like I was with people that truly understood me and accepted me. And I started hearing their stories truly for the first time. Look, I was in treatment at 15, and then another nudge from the judge when I was 21 after a D-dub. I wasn't listening. I was just waiting for my turn to talk.
Get my paper signed.
You got it. And I was willing to wax poetic about steps that I wasn't working, but I wasn't hearing you. And for the first time, I was really listening to these people's stories, which was the genesis of the Way Out podcast. These stories were changing me. For the first time, I really believed I could get better because they felt like I felt. They thought like I thought. They did what I did, and they got better. And I truly believe for the first time that maybe, just maybe, I could get better too. And so I started doing what they did. And I went to a lot of meetings in the beginning, more than a 90 and 90, every day for a long time. And I got a sponsor, and I worked the steps in order. Joe and Charlie were transformational in my recovery journey. And I really believe it took Bill and Bob to write the big book and Joe and Charlie to explain it. And they just kept saying, run the experiment. Don't worry about the process. Don't judge it. Don't analyze it. This is a program of action. You don't need to understand it.
Right.
You just need to do it to the best of your ability. So for the first time in my life, I just turned my brain off, and I just started doing the steps in order to the best of my ability with a sponsor. And part of that process was straightening out my relationship with a higher power. I hated God. I had a huge resentment against God. Now I dressed that up in agnosticism, right? I would tell you I was agnostic. That was a lie. I was lying to myself and to you. I hated God. God took my mom away when I was 11. Like I wanted nothing to do with God. And so I had to confront that in steps 2 and 3. And for me, that meant just starting to pray to a God that I had no understanding of. Because if I could make it up, it wasn't big enough for me. So that's works for some people to come with a concept of God. And I think that can make sense for a lot of people. Like, what would a higher power look like for you? That didn't work for me because I really believed if I could make it up, it wasn't big enough for me. And so I just started praying to this God that I didn't understand, but I meant it. I meant it. And something profound happened by praying to this God that I had no understanding of. I started to change. And the way that I related to the world started to profoundly change. And the way I related to other people started to profoundly change. And the way I related to myself started to profoundly change. And I had this really powerful realization that praying to a God that I had no understanding of didn't change other people, didn't change the world. This God was changing me. And that was my first understanding of how God works in my life. And it was a very powerful experience to understand that and to experience God that way. And that changed everything for me and really transformed my recovery and gave me the ability to be able to work the rest of the steps to the best of my ability for really, 4 through 12, but really 4 through 9, right? Because I really believe for me, I needed that higher power in my life to be able to effectively work the rest of those steps, right? That's what was missing at prior attempts of recovery is I had I hated God. How could I work a spiritual program when you hate God, right? So
But did you know that? Did you know that? I mean, before you went in and had that moment with the lady in the treatment, did you know you hated God, or were you just like?
I did not know that.
See, me either. So that's where it's like I totally get what you're saying. And when my sponsor insinuated to me that it wasn't that I just like it's scary how all of our stories are so much
right?
similar, but
Right.
but it's the same thing in the sense that she's like, you're just super mad at God, and I'm like, oh no, there's no way, and she's like, yeah, she didn't say bullshit, but what I heard in my mind is bullshit. Yeah, you are, and I remember saying to her, if your God was all that great, why am I in this position to begin with? Why doesn't he sprinkle the fairy dust on me or poof or whatever the case may be, And I hated it when she said this, but I've used it on sponsees. She said, why is a question for management? And you're not it. You're not management.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
You are not management. And Charlie, I love one of the things that I share a lot with people that are scared of recovery, that are still out there and they're like, it's not for me. But what you don't understand is when you said you were walking down those stairs home, when I heard you use the word belong, for the first time in my life, I didn't have to fit in. I tried to fit in when I opened my eyes of a morning, I was already trying to fit in to what it was all in between my ears, but what I thought they needed me to be, or who I need to be in front of this person, or where am I going here? I never just belonged.
You got it.
You know, I remember that when I went upstairs, I go upstairs, you went downstairs. When I went upstairs to change my date, because anyway, I just, when I sat down, it was so different. It's like the room actually was a different color. I mean, it was weird. It was weird. It was just, I saw things for what they were because I was starting to see me for what I was. And my sponsor gave me enough confidence to know that good, bad, or indifferent, when I do realize what I am, who I am, it's going to be okay. And I as well, and this is also what I tell sponsees, if they said it, we're going to say it. If they prayed it, we're going to pray it. If they wrote it, we're going to write it. It's in the book. It's 164 pieces of paper. Yes, Joe and Charlie. And if you've never listened to Bob D. and Scott L., if you can get their step study from
huge fans.
Huge
Fans.
I know. I tried to get Bob Darrell on my show.
Oh.
He doesn't do podcasts. If you say you got him on your show, don't tell me. Don't tell me.
No.
Anyway, I'll tell you what. I've listened to them for probably the last 8 months in my car. I only live a mile from my office, but they're just the way that, see, and I don't mean it offensively to myself, but sometimes I need things dumbed down. I need them. It's like, oh, that's a lot. Tell me, just bring it down to puppy dogs and duckies, piggies,
Absolutely.
and that kind of thing. And they really, Joe and Charlie do the same thing, but this is, man, what a life. What a life we have.
Christine, it's beyond anything I could have. Look, there was a good stretch there where I didn't think I was going to see the other side of 30, okay? So the fact that I'm sitting here at 45 years old with 9 years of sobriety.
Continuous sobriety.
Nights and weekends and holidays.
Right.
You got it.
After hours.
Got it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it reminds me, it was all about action, right? Action saved my life and continues to be what keeps me well is action, action, action. And I love this quote by Bill Wilson. You can't think your way into right action, but you can act your way into right thinking. And that's been my experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I never have loved that fake it till you make it.
No.
See, no, because when we come into the rooms, we have agreed to stop faking. We have agreed to leave the masks and the costumes and all of that out in the hallway and be authentic. So we don't fake anything, but we can act, which is action. Yeah, I love how you put that. I love how you put that.
It's all about action. No, we ain't faking nothing. We bring our authentic selves to the best of our abilities. And look, we are able to see other people bring their authentic selves to us. It gives us permission to do the same. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so the struggle, the reality, the good days and the bad days and all of it, right? And being honest about what folks are dealing with. Man, I get more out of somebody that says, it's been a bad freaking day. And my character defects got the best of me. And, that's real. Like, this is not all, unicorns and butterflies. And we're just not like magically like healed and we never make another mistake. So, we get to see that in the rooms of recovery of people really doing the deal and applying those tools to the lifey parts of life.
But even past that too, Charlie, and I know you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about because I can already I'm one of those that I believe souls recognize each other down here. I just believe that. And when we get down to the here's my guts I ain't afraid for you to see them. You know, I've explained this to some of the earthlings that I come into contact with. It's like they're like, "Why are you so out there about your recovery?" Because because just like you, I'm out there. I've been told.
100% recover out loud.
That's right. Amen. I think my husband called me extra again last night, which
hey, look, people say that your recovery is showing, and well, thank you.
You're damn right. Let me show you twice. But it's one of those things that when I show you who I am, right, through not just tell you, right, when I show you who I am, something changes. And I'm talking about with normal people, right? Yeah. Not necessarily just people in recovery, because praise God, we do have a lot of earthlings that listen to the show. That when I show you who I am, there's just this magical dynamic that happens that all of a sudden you're not afraid to show me who you are.
You got it.
And it's that is how, my humble opinion, how God intended us to be on this earth, is to be open and honest. Because my major scar right here, if you see it, you might go, how did you heal from that? What happened? And then so I can use my scar to be the message, a message, the mess be the message and the test be the testimony, all the cliche things, but it's true. When I allow you to see my scars, I am allowing God to use me to possibly help you, or your son who's about to, fall, or whatever the case may be. But it's a beautiful thing, and I know too. You'll be out somewhere, even at a restaurant or a order food counter or something, and you look at the guy and you go, "How are you?" There's just to watch their shoulders drop, and they say, I'm okay. My mom is sick, but they share something. Right? Instead of just give me a burger and fries and pay, and when you touch someone's life, and it's if I hadn't come into recovery, I'd be dead. But recovery has taught me that it ain't about me. Thank God, it ain't nothing about me. I don't want it to be about me, because when it's about me, it gets drunk and almost kills itself. I'm just being honest.
100%.
It's just
the humanity in me can honor the humanity in you. Mm-hmm. And the greatest way that I can show you my humanity is to be vulnerable and authentic. And to your point, show you my scars and tell you how I healed from them. And you see my humanity. Mm-hmm. And you're liable to show me yours too. Mm-hmm. And we need more of that.
We need so much more. Not just on a recovery level, on a human level, for God's sake.
Yes.
All of the, I'm telling you what, the truth will set you free, but it'll ruin your day. That's a Bob Darrell quote right there. It's true. Recovery has ruined us in some ways. It's like, because we're not special. I've got a camera here. We're not special. We don't talk to dead people. We don't. But the fact of the matter is that there. It says in a big book, if you believe in that kind of thing, that the scales will be removed from your eyes and you will be able to see things as they are. And the difference is now I can see things as they are most times, and I can just accept them. Whereas before I drank over them, I tried to kill myself over them, or I tried to kill I tried to change it, exhausting. God just makes me want to take a nap just thinking about it. I mean, it just was. How did we survive that? I mean, I know how we survived it. How did we survive that?
Honestly.
Right? The statistics of how
There's
many
a little bit
us,
of survivor's guilt for me too from time to time, Christine. And that's real. The stuff that I ended up surviving and others for whatever reason didn't, like you said, that is a management decision that I clearly don't understand why I survived what I did and other people didn't. All I know is I did. And I truly believe it's my purpose to help as many people as possible get out of their own substance use disorder, their own addiction, their own alcoholism, just by sharing my story, just by saying, here's how I did it.
Right. Well, and it's Brene Brown, I think it is that said, vulnerability is being comfortable enough with your darkness to go into someone else's to help them find their way out. Is that not sponsorship? Right.
I love that. Yes.
Oh man.
Yes.
I ain't scared of your demons, honey.
No.
I ain't scared. I'll come in there, but if I come in there, you have to be willing to come out, because unless you are completely willing to come out, nothing will change. And that's we I know you've heard a million times the term, the gift of desperation.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I love that. I hate
too.
it and I love it all at the same time. But I have come. Go ahead.
I'm so grateful for it.
Oh, me too. Oh, me too. Oh, honey, because I had that gift wrapped up in bows everywhere. Shit, I had that gift of desperation. But it was bordering on, I just wanted to die. I didn't realize it was a gift of desperation in the moment, right? But it worked out. But I've come to realize, I used to think that to have, I don't know the word I want to use, not adequate or proper recovery, to have full recovery or whatever, that someone has to have that gift of desperation. I no longer believe that. Yeah. I no longer believe that. I do believe that there are degrees of recovery, if you
bet,
will.
No question. It's out of spectrum. Absolutely. Right. It's absolutely out of spectrum. And you're absolutely correct, Christine. I used to believe that out of the gate because that was my experience, that gift of desperation, that it was a requirement. Not the case. Right. I know plenty of people who came into recovery not desperate, not even wanting to get sober or clean or abstinent, and ended up finding and achieving meaningful and enduring recovery that's no less meaningful, that's no less beautiful than somebody that hit a quote unquote bottom, had a gift of desperation and recovered, right? They're both beautiful, they're both meaningful, and they're both worth elevating and celebrating.
Right. And they are, and right, that entire spectrum that we talked about, God can use those people to, but I also know that there is a difference between sobriety and recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to be sober. I don't want to be just sober. To me, that's hell. I did that for a little while, and I would rather leave this earth than live sober. I want to live recovered and in recovery, because what I heard you say, Charlie, is you have not graduated from a 12-step program. Is that right? You don't have a diploma or a pretty trophy degree, or little pin to wear?
No degree, no PhD in recovery. And it is a one day at a time program for me. And the longer I'm in recovery, the more that becomes a stark reality that this thing is a one day at a time operation for me. And what you said, what you called sobriety, I call suffering from untreated alcoholism. Okay. So if I choose not to work my program, if I choose to stop doing all the things that got me and keep me well, I will start to suffer from untreated alcoholism, Christine, and my life will become unmanageable again. And that happens to me without substances. And then what happens is that I feel like I have no way to be able to cope with life on life's terms. And the only way to stay alive is to pour alcohol on it. Right? So instead of being abstinent and choosing to suffer from untreated alcoholism, I choose to pick up my kit of some recovery tools on a daily basis that help me stay well. And I have to do it on a regular and consistent basis. I need my higher power in my life. I need recovery literature in my life. I need meaningful connection with other people in my life, intentional connection with other people in my life. And I need to get out of my own way as much as humanly possible and help my fellow brothers and sisters in and out of recovery.
Yeah, I remember coming into the rooms about 6 months before my final drunk, and I thought for sure that Alcoholics Anonymous's job was to teach people how to drink properly. Charlie, they failed at that. They failed at that. I truly thought there was some kind of secret or some kind of, because I tried doing the only drinking this or only drinking then or only here or no, don't drink there or only this time. I tried all that. So surely they knew the secret because they've been doing this a long time, I heard. So they could teach. So now there's a misconception, because I'll be this coming March, by the grace of God, I'll be 12. And I still get to, amen, I still get to, not have to, I still get to go to at least 2 meetings a week because I love it.
Yeah.
But there are people that go, oh, you have to go to a meeting?
I know.
It's like, oh, honey child, let me tell you something. What I do is I go down to a room. I say down. I work uptown, meetings downtown. I get to go down to a meeting where there is anywhere from 20 to 30 human beings exactly like me, that I could say anything to. And the mirror that is their eyes looking at me won't change one iota.
Got it.
And they will be helpful if I choose to ask for their help, or surely there's someone in that room that's going through the same thing. If I'm angry, or if I've got this sludge that's just cancer inside of me where I'm angry and resentful, and I can put it on that table and those people will tell me what to do with it. Because I forget sometimes. I get busy in my life, and this craziness goes on, and they'll be. And I've given them authority to say to me situations like, for instance, maybe you're being a little selfish here.
Yeah.
Maybe, have you thought of it this way?
Right.
Whereas if my husband said that to me, I would claw his eyeballs out viciously. But they can they can call me on some stuff. And make me see things from an entirely different view, right?
Yes.
And Mr. Earthling, do you have that? I get to do that twice a week, or whenever I'm feeling like I need, I have somewhere to go. So don't feel sorry for me that I have to, either I have to or I get to go to a meeting again.
And it's all about perspective. And Christine, there's that experience that you described, and I've been fortunate to be able to experience it in my own recovery. I have a home group Saturday mornings that I adore. And I've got a host of friends from that group. And those friends mean the world to me. And I truly look forward to my home group every Saturday morning. And it talks about that in the big book. This is an experience we're sure you won't want to miss. To really feel like we belong and be a part of a brother and sisterhood that's unlike any other I've experienced in my life.
Anywhere.
And that's available to us. And that's amazing. And it really goes to a really primal need of us human beings, is to feel like we belong and to feel connected. Right? I mean, back in our early evolutionary days, if we were not part of the group, we were probably gonna die, Christy. We were
we starved, or
you got it, or
we got
got
put
eaten by a bear or something
mm-hmm.
weird, right?
Or
So
fed
like,
to a bear,
yeah.
right?
So it was
Yeah,
really important for us to be a part of the group, right? And it
yeah.
still is.
But what's beautiful too, and I'm sure you've experienced it as well, Charlie, is that initial, for me, March 14th, 2012, when I went into that room and changed my date, and I felt that belonging. Since then, I have found over time, all of a sudden, I kind of feel like I belong in other places I
You
go
got
that
it.
aren't recovery related.
You
It's
got it.
really it's kind of strange to look up and think, okay, well, I'm not it's one of those out of body kind of things where it's like I should be panicking in this situation, but I'm not. I'm actually comfortable and calm in this situation, and being aware that these things are spilling out into my outside life, not just in the rooms. I don't just feel the sense of belonging when I'm in the rooms now. I can carry that with me.
You just brought up something I think so beautiful, because it's been my experience that I was able to slowly but surely and increasingly bring my whole self to the folks in those rooms, which gave me greater confidence, Christine, to bring my whole self to the world.
Yeah.
And
And what a feeling.
what a gift.
What a gift. What a gift. And and we didn't do a whole lot to get that gift. I mean, we showed up with willingness.
You got it. You
Willingness
got it.
to just shut up.
And take in what folks were so freely passing on.
Yeah.
I mean, there was people that helped me that were so freely passing on what was given to them, and it was keeping them sober too, right? Just by virtue of passing on what had been given to them, and what a gift it is now to be able to do the same, to pass on what was so freely given to me.
It's funny. I just came straight here to record the show with you. I chaired a meeting, my home group at noon, and the topic was over the daily reflection. I don't know if you read it today, but
Oh yeah, every morning.
Yeah, it talked about us judging other alcoholics, and it says it's almost almost comical.
Yeah,
right?
imagine another one alcoholic. Yeah.
Yeah, right? Passing judgment on the irony of it all. But I can remember sitting in my home group, and I call it affectionately now, the exit chair, which was the chair right by the door, right? So, I sat in the exit chair for about 5 months after I came out of treatment, all the while drinking mouthwash and Listerine, which was not alcohol, by the way.
Right.
Wink, wink.
Didn't
Yes,
count.
it is
Yeah,
alcohol. Yes, it is alcohol. There's alcohol. There's so much alcohol in some of these mouthwashes. But nonetheless, I remember sitting there, Charlie, and I was looking at the group, and they would talk about some of the most wretched things. I had this DUI, and then I partially cut my leg off, and the whole group was like, ha, ha, laughing. And I thought, you cannot possibly be the alcoholic, or as a matter of fact, I wasn't referring to myself as an alcoholic at the time, but you can't possibly have life as bad as me if
Right.
you're laughing like that, because there is nothing to laugh at I was passing such and I was thinking at them. I was thinking at them. You ever just sit there and think at somebody?
Oh,
And
100%.
I'm just thinking, you drank a little too much, or it was wretched, the things that I thought about these people, and come to find out they were exactly like me.
Isn't that the truth?
And
Christine, it reminds me,
wonderful.
I remember when you talk about like just thinking at somebody. This was early in my recovery, and look, I was wanting to get better. I had the desire, and I had the willingness, and I was coming off of that gift of desperation. But some guy stands up in a meeting and says, the desire's been removed. The desire to drink has been removed. And I remember thinking, he is so full of crap.
Oh,
He's
has the
lying.
desire been
The
removed?
desire's been removed. I'm like, you're
Give me
lying.
a
You're lying.
break.
You're not
Liar.
Eileen, like the whole thing. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to this group.
You Eileen'd him.
Yes, I did. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
And lo and behold, after I worked the steps in order with a sponsor, I too had the desire removed.
Imagine that.
Imagine that, Christine. Imagine that. One thing I too want to highlight is, as an important part of my recovery, and I say this in my recovery story on purpose, I also embarked on a therapeutic journey in parallel to my 12-step journey. And that was critical for me. And it really unlocked my recovery in a significant way to go through a therapeutic journey, EMDR therapy for me, and working the 12 steps in order with a sponsor. And so
tell people what EMDR is in case you got earthlings listening.
Yeah, so EMDR therapy stands for, hold on, I'm going to get it right because I always forget. It stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Okay.
And so for me, that experience meant that I was holding on to these two little like pods while I was engaging in therapy sessions. And at first we weren't talking about any of the trauma stuff, any of the hard stuff. It was, kind of normal stuff that we were just, telling my story and stuff like that. But it got me used to the experience of having them in my hands. And then we were able to revisit the trauma, and the transformational piece in the EMDR for me was, prior to that therapy experience with EMDR, every time I would be reminded of the traumatic experience or the traumatic experience memory would come up for me, I would feel like I was transported back in time, and I would feel like I was 11 years old and it was happening to me all over again. And I was literally reliving it against my will. I felt like I felt that day, that moment. And EMDR allowed me to stay in the present moment. I knew that I wasn't back there. My body knew that I was here in the current moment. And then I was able to reprocess that memory in
without
a way.
The emotional, yeah.
Got it.
Without the emotional of what an 11-year-old.
You bet.
Yeah.
got
People don't. I see that. It took a while for me to learn that because I do, and I believe that with my whole soul now. That I think that we freeze emotionally.
Yes.
At whatever point it was. Our bodies continue, our intellect continues, but emotionally, you're 30-something years old reacting like an 11-year-old.
Yeah. And that memory, when that memory comes back up, instantly transported back mind and body back to that moment in time. Right? So now when I think about that traumatic experience, it still has an energy, no doubt about it, but it does not overwhelm me or paralyze me, and it does not trigger me to want to escape it.
Right.
And
that's amazing.
Was transformational.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and to further or to reiterate what you're saying, I am a big book thumping believer, but there are other treatments and things that you could do to further your recovery. So hopefully someone has a sponsor that can suggest certain things, or and we just have to keep doing the thing out.
We just have to keep sharing the story and saying it out loud.
We just have to give. You just never. Here's the deal. We just have to keep planting the seeds and let God do what God's
You
going to do as
got
far
it.
as watering and tending those seeds, you know.
You got it. And
um,
even Bill Wilson in the big book says, and I quote, I paraphrase, I should say, be quick to make use of outside help.
Oh, he did. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
So he was a big advocate of leveraging outside, whether that be religious, whether that be therapeutic, right?
Psychiatric.
You got it. You
100%.
got it. Yep. And so, and I know I've seen this on your social media, Christine. So I love this that you are elevating and celebrating all pathways to recovery. They all matter. They're all valid, right? And we all need to, be supportive of each other's recoveries, regardless of the pathway.
Right. Well, and also knowing, following that with if what you're doing's not working, try something else.
You got it.
Don't give up hope. Just try something else. Keep seeking. Keep seeking. The minute we stop seeking, that's when I've seen so many people die. I've seen so many people. This disease kills so many people.
Yeah.
And it's like you don't have to be one of them. You don't have to be one of them. Tell people. So tell me all the things you do. Tell people how they can find you. Your wonderful podcast. Let's plug that sucker. Let's say all the
Way Out podcast. So you can hit our website, wayoutcast.com, and that will get you to all of our tremendous content, our 300 and some odd episodes now of Recovering Out Loud with amazing people like you, Christine. My co-host and a brother from another mother, Jason, is just one of the best human beings I've ever met in my entire life. I love him to pieces. He does interviews. I do interviews. So you get a little bit of both. You get interviews that I do, and you get interviews that Jason does. And every once in a while, we do topic shows. So we'll do shows together, Jason and I. So that's great. Wayoutcast.com.
And you also have recovery. You have a recovery page online as well on Facebook, right? What's the name of that?
We do the Way Out podcast on Facebook. Yep. So you can get us on Facebook, Insta, the whole show, and that's all those links are on our website. So you can hit our Facebook and our Insta that way too. I do recovery coaching, so that's another piece that I offer to people is recovery coaching, and I use the CCAR method of recovery coaching, which is a great way to be able to help people build what we like to call recovery capital, right? And so I'm also a certified recovery coach.
Awesome. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for being willing to come on here and talk to me. And thank you for being a recovered individual that is willing to continue to go into the dark and help people find their way out. Literally, no pun intended. You need to snippet that. High five.
I could not have said it better myself, right? Christine. I could not have worded it better myself.
I love it.
And Christine, thank you for everything that you do for the recovery community, for recovering out loud, for helping others to recover out loud, smashing stigma, and showing that recovery is not only possible, Christine, you're also showing people that it's worth it.
And it's beautiful. No shame. No shame. Yeah. No more. No shame. 100%. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for listening to Purpose Driven Sobriety. Keep coming back.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.